All right, looks like it's 10. So let's get started. This is an info session on what you will need to do to be promoted to Mod 2. So this is definitely meant to be like Q&A style. I'm going to go over what you should expect. And then any questions about any parts, please ask. Yeah. Oh man, what a feature, the touch bar to use the share screen. All right, cool. Yeah, so this is on your Mod 1 backend page. Promotion is where you can find it. Actually, I can just show you. It is here, requirements, promotion in Mod 2. All right, so first thing that we'll talk about is the projects. So remember that you need to either pass the paired project or the group project, all right? And so you know if you've passed Battleship or not. And so therefore you know whether football needs to be a passing project or not for you in order to promote. I will just add the caveat that like I kind of expect all passing projects for both just because of how much time and effort we give you to put into them. But when we get down to like what is actually required, it's one or the other. All right, and then Knight Rider, we kick off, I believe, on Thursday, and Knight Rider is your final project, and this needs to be a passing project. All right. Questions about projects, any of that stuff. If it's like Knight Rider specific, I'll probably say wait, but if it's like about what I'm telling you the requirements are here, then I'm happy to answer. All right. If something comes up later on in the session, then feel free to let me know. Yeah, I like Corey's background too. Okay, assessments. So in, I guess it's week 6, but we'll start these on Friday of this week. We'll do some early bird paired assessments. So we'll have a Slack message go out, and if you want to be doing your paired assessment on Friday, you can respond to that and go early so that you can get it out of the way Friday if you would like. I think we have room for 18 of you, so probably have more slots than people that want to do it, but that's all right. What else? Yeah, so the average score of these two assessments need to be passing. So your paired assessment and then your final independent challenge, final independent assessment, the average score of these need to be passing. And if we're just going based on like number scores, it's going to be a 2.5 that you need to have as your average of these to be passing. And so the paired is scored the same as the mid-mod was, so you got your DM of your scores for that, and it's going to be scored the same based on the same rubric, the same requirements, same categories, all of that. And then similarly, the independent challenge will be scored the same way that they've all been scored so far, which is like we have our own spec and we run that against your methods, and however many methods you get at each iteration it weights on your score. Yeah, and you can get up to a 3.67 on the paired, and you can get up to a 4 on the independent, and you need the average of the two to be a 2.5. Questions about scoring on this? Yeah, go ahead, Brett.
But the best way to practice for these, I mean, kind of obvious question, but the practice assessments.
Yeah, I would say like, I kind of said this for the mid-mod, like you won't have a chance to really practice that scenario other than the mid mod, right? But what you can do is be like, hey, mentor, hey, upper mod, can you just like watch me for 45 minutes while I, do a prompt that is written and not like, the way that the independent challenge spec is written, but instead the way that like the paired assessment prompt is written, where it's kind of like vague as far as like, hey, we want this, but like the way that you implement it is up to you. So like you don't have as much practice with that stuff. So I would say like definitely worth, even if you want to do it, even if you wanted to like pair up with one, like maybe your accountability buddy or someone in the cohort that you want to pair up with and be like, all right, I'm going to watch you for 45 minutes and then you watch me for 45 minutes so that we can practice that. And then, yeah, there's a number of independent challenge practice assessments. I would say Colorado Lottery is probably the hardest of the practicing. We gave that one mod as like a week 4 or week 5 challenge, and it was just too hard. So we now have it as a practice. And so that one's like probably the best. Well, I don't want to say the best. It has all the things that you probably need. One thing to note, that one has like mocks and stubs that are really just a stub you need to implement. You won't need to do that on either of these. So you won't have to implement a mock or a stub on either the independent or the paired. And yeah, I gotta look at the other practice assessments to see if I can recommend anything else. Ooh, yeah. Yeah, yeah, either Reunion or Museo, I think, are good ones. I'm kind of surprised we have these here because I know we give them. Yeah, this one's a good one. Reunion is good because you have to like iterate to build a hash. And that's like one of the things I see that trips students up. So you're not feeling great about that, I would say iterating to build a hash is a good thing. I might have to take this off because I think we give this one. I don't know if we give it this mod or not, but this is also a good one while it's up to practice on. But I know we give this in week 5, so I'm kind of surprised to see it here. Maybe this is private. Can you all see this if you go to Museo? You probably can, actually.
We can.
Yeah, I thought so. Okay. Since it's already up, I'm not gonna like remove it from y'all, but I gotta look. This makes me a little nervous for what we're gonna give y'all this week and next week. But don't you worry, I'll figure all that out. You don't have to be nervous about it. Just me.
Keep it. You just keep it up there, Tim. You just give it to us and let's have it.
I know. Okay, 2006. You hate to see it. Okay, I gotta figure something else out. Okay, that's fine. I have a different plan then, which isn't a big deal. But yeah, those are good practice because those are like Museo is literally a final assessment that has been given before, but will not be
Like
given
the
this
final
time.
independent challenge or a final paired?
Final independent. Yep. Okay. Other questions about this part?
I have a question about the final. So when we were doing a session last time with Mike, he was showing us kind of like a two group group the attributes into one test. For
Yep.
example, like imagine like, is that okay for the final?
Yes, yeah, that'll be fine. And like we we expect you to test every method the same as always, but like whether you're testing a method, like attributes is a good example of like it's probably more a matter of opinion than it is a matter of like what's right and wrong, but I think you can test all of your attributes for a class in one test, and yeah, we wouldn't count you off for that.
Okay, sounds good. Thank you.
Good question. Yeah, I think I saw Ryan with his hand up.
Yeah, Tim, for the final, are we expected to be like verbal, I guess? Like if I was completely silent during my final and I passed it or did it, would that be okay? Because usually, at least in the front end, when I was in the front end, like speaking was part of the final. Like you need to be able to speak the technical terms.
Yep. So we have moved away from that in the back end team because we're kind of more care about like what you can do like code wise in 45 minutes than we do about like you being able to talk through it, and just like the way that we're doing these like 3 at a time, that's not really an option also. So yeah, you won't be asked to talk through what you're doing, although it might not be the worst idea to have a rubber duck next to you and be talking through what you're doing on mute, of course.
All right, thank you.
Yep, for sure. Yeah, go ahead, Angela.
So as far as like the practice prompts for the paired and the independent assessment, they would be the same. Just like the difference is one we're doing it by ourselves and then the other one someone's watching us. Like
They're not
practice
necessarily
prompts?
well, they're not necessarily the same because like the prompts are very different, right? Like if you look at like pets and customers, for example, this like groomer, this is what you get, you know, for the paired where we're watching you, right? You get something like this where it's like kind of like, yeah, we tell you what we need, but we don't tell you like what your method name should be or like what the return values should be, right? Where if we go to any of the either of the practices for the independent assessment, it's kind of like this spec is quite different as far as like showing you exactly like what we want the method names to be and all of that. And this one, you gotta, it's like more attention to detail, because if you don't name the method the same as what we expect, then our spec will basically tell you that you missed that one. So you have to make sure that your methods are named a certain way and behave a certain way there.
Okay. And then the only practice ones we have for the paired are the ones for pets and customers.
Yeah, so you have the ones for pets and customers. You have your pre-work from the mid-mod, right? Like that pre-work is pretty much can stay by itself, and then like you can come up with, I guess it's not the easiest thing to do, but you could either redo your prompt from the mid mod, right? That's good practice, and like redo doing that in 45 seconds with just your pre-work. You could also like think up a different prompt, right? And the idea is like you create a third object. That third object has a way to hold the second and the first object, and then asks you to like, based on some of that logic in the second and first object, return you you know, objects based on like some Boolean logic, or maybe objects based on like, it's usually Boolean logic, but also like return all of the collection of the first object, and you are in the third object. So like you have to like kind of dig in to do that.
Thank you, Tim.
Yeah, absolutely.
Tim,
Yep, what's up?
for the paired and the independent, other than the structure, are there anything different? Are there any major differences between the two in terms of, I guess, concepts or things like that?
Yeah, I mean, you've already seen it, but I'll just kind of like review again. Like the difference is for the paired, you kind of have to be creative with your code and like figure out how to do things like based on like some words. And the independent, it's like you have to follow a very specific spec, method by method, line by line, to give us the output that we expect, where the paired is more like, we tell you what we expect to be able to happen in your class, but how you go about implementing it is up to you. And generally, I see students overcomplicate things in the paired more than I see them do anything else. Like they're trying to build like, you know, some crazy data structures that they just don't need. And that's why I say, I'll always say for the paired, you can always ask clarifying questions. Every single single like line in the prompt, you can be like, all right, I think that this asks for this, is that right? And like ask for a clarifier there, or like, I plan on implementing this, what do you think about that? And like, I mean, I'm probably not going to give you a ton of feedback on something like that, but I might tell you like, you don't need, you're doing too much, or you're doing just enough, you know what I mean? So like you can ask for feedback.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
So they're equally terrible.
I would disagree with that and say that they are equally important for testing what we need you to know by the time you're done with this mod.
And I just want to be clear, Tim, can we ask those clarifying questions like vocally, or should we just like send who's ever watching our screen a message on Slack?
Based on the amount of time you have, I would unmute and ask them out loud, because even if like someone else hears your question, that's okay. Like we're not gonna answer a question just for you that we don't want everyone else to hear. You know what I mean? Like we're fine with answering it aloud and hearing y'all, and everyone being able to hear that. Cool. Yeah, you've got your, this link isn't going to be right. How did I know? Let me find the new link. You've got your PD that has all your deliverables. Where is the new thing? I think it's like career. Maybe I'll just try it. Career dev. Yeah, here we go. careerdev.turing.io module 1. So this kind of gives you your overview of what you're going to need for all of that, and your deliverables for Allison and the PD team, which I believe is just your journal for this one. Yeah, and that's another part of promotion. And then you'll all present to us a portfolio at the end of the mod. We'll do those, like the calendar for week 6. Okay, yeah, so we'll do the portfolios. We'll have some early birds on Wednesday. It's not any of these people. And then we'll have the rest on Thursday. And then you're done. Yay. Other questions coming up about this stuff?
Does mod 2 start immediately the week after?
No, you get a break. You have intermission week from the 10th to the 14th, but you have pre-work for that mod.
We only have a 1 week intermission?
Yeah, just one this time. So the 2-week intermission in the summer is like happens once in the summer, and it's like, I guess it's just kind of to match the fact that we get the winter break. That's 2 weeks. Yeah. But yeah, most of the time your intermission weeks are 1 week.
So Tim, will you be my instructor again when I repeat mod 1?
John. Oh, John. There's a lot to unpack there. Number one, there's a reason why each module is 6 weeks long and not 4 weeks long. So you've done about 4 weeks, right? In one class. And so you still have, you know, about, I'd say 8 days to really kind of like get it together for the end of the mod, and like it's wherever you end up is okay. Like, as you know, I repeated mod 1 and ended up just fine. However, I don't think it's worth going into it with like any certain mindset. I think it's great to like experience the whole thing, see where you end up at the end of it, right? And then like go from there. But like if you kind of like have a trajectory in your mind of where you're going already, then you kind of limit yourself for in terms of like what the experience can be like. So I would say just go into it like wherever you end up on like the side of either repeating or promoting, it's fine. You can still certainly be successful at Turing. I think mod 1 is the hardest mod because there's so much new stuff, and also you're adjusting to like Turing in general, whereas like you won't have to make that adjustment next mod. And I won't tell you yet whether I will be where I will be, but yeah, you'll find out next week.
Can you speak a bit more about the portfolio? I know the instructions are on there, but is there like anything you think we should know that you can speak about?
I would take the questions as like guidelines for how you put it together. It's a slideshow, so we expect like a visual. It's not a slideshow. We expect some sort of visual aid. Generally, slides are the easiest for that. But it's kind of like just you discussing like what your progress looked like for the mod, you know, what you learned from the feedback that you received, and you know, what your plan is for next mod, how you're gonna set your goals for next mod with all that you know now. Yeah. Did that help answer it, Philip?
Yeah. I guess I mean more like more about the technical aspect of it. Like when you say slides, are we using like a specific program to create slides? Like what are in these slides?
Yeah, so you'll kind of like create your slides based on the questions, like answering the questions. And it's like really your portfolio is about you. Like, hey, this is where I came from. This is where I'm at now. This is what I learned from all the feedback I got. And this is what I'm going to do next mod, is kind of like the basic structure of them. And generally students make slideshows for that. If you want to make like I don't know, something with like pieces of paper or something and be fun like that, I would be fine with it. But those are like 10 minutes, so they run quick. It's 10 minutes. It's like boom, boom, boom. Then you get some feedback from us as instructors, and then that is that. Cool. Someone was asking a question.
That was me. Sorry, I didn't want to interrupt, but
That's okay.
Last mod we had like I think it was this week, we did like 5-minute presentations. Has it gone away?
Yeah, lightning talks have gone away, which is sad, honestly.
They were fun.
I know, I thought so too. They're like one of my favorite things about week 5 generally, because we get to like learn more about y'all. But I don't make all the decisions in this school, and they are no more. So sad.
Wait, you don't make all the decisions?
I don't. I make very few, actually.
When did that start happening? No, I'm kidding.
Very few. Travis, what's up?
Yeah, I might not be understanding this correctly, so forgive me. But the paired assessments, so those we're being paired with an instructor, not with another student.
Yeah, that's correct. Yeah, so it's
okay,
exactly like the mid mod. The format is exactly the same as the mid mod. It's like you will be in there with 2 other students. You'll all be sharing your screen, and one of us will be kind of like watching. And yeah.
Awesome. Thank you.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, let's take a break and come back at 29, and then we'll wrap up other questions then.
Thank you, 29.
Thank you, 29.
All right, it's 10:29. Yeah, what other questions do y'all have about what to expect for promoting to Mod 2?
When do you find out like the final decision?
Yeah, that's a good question. Let's see. It will be like after the final independent challenge on Wednesday. We will like run the spec right when it's done, and we will kind of like see where everyone lands, take the average, and then let y'all know probably between like 11:30ish and 12:30 that day.
I don't really have a question, but I would like to go over to kind of soothe the nerves a little. Repeater myself, so I know that first time through, like dreading doing the paired assessment and the independent challenge. Don't beat your head against the wall. Like making yourself feel like you're behind. Just study, but don't overkill yourself on get your sleep, get your everything that you need to function properly, and just take it as it comes. And if you do have to end up repeating, don't feel bad. It's an opportunity to learn, and you honestly feel so much better the second time through than you did the first time. The information is able to stick, and just you feel better about it as you're going through, and then that even helps you move forward through future mods.
Words of wisdom. Yeah, I think things I want to take away from that are like get sleep, right? You're going to need it to be fresh and like do well on these assessments. And yeah, I think repeating is an opportunity to solidify if that ends up being like your path, but there are many paths at Turing. There's no right or wrong path. It's like we got to remember, get the job is the goal, right? Get the job, change careers, have a happier, more fulfilling life, change the world for the better, right? That's the larger goal. And like whether you repeat mod 1 or not, as long as you go get that goal, then it will not matter in the long run.
I might be getting ahead of myself, but what does in between mod 1 and 2 look like? You said there's pre-work. How many hours is that typically, or what does that look like?
That is a good question. I don't want to give an hour number because I'm not positive, to be honest. If Mike is still on the call, he might have a better idea, but I don't. Looks like his camera's off, so I don't know if he's around. But it's a decent amount of work, right? Like probably like I would say like the. All right, he unmuted. I'm gonna let. Nope, never mind. He didn't. It's a decent amount of work. What I usually tell people is like, when you have a 1 week intermission, take the weekend off, maybe even take Monday off, but probably get started on Tuesday with the pre-work, because as usual, issues come up. There's probably a decent amount of environment setup that you'll have to do to get Rails set up. That's just going to be kind of like a pain, to be honest. And the sooner you start, the better you'll feel going into mod 2. So yeah.
When is our final project due? I'm looking at the calendar. Can't really find it.
Yep, final project will be due at like 8:30 a.m. on Tuesday, August 4th. I can just add a little event too, just so it's
Sweet,
on
thank you.
there. Yeah, of course.
I just want to comment on some of the feelings that I feel like are being expressed in the chat. Just kind of probably around fear that's boiling up in regards to like the unknown of where you feel like you may land. First, I would say don't jump ahead that far. Like, we are in today, and we have to be present in today and what you can focus on today to help yourself feel stronger, maybe in areas that you feel like you need a little bit more study in or a little bit more understanding around. I was one of the ones that felt horrible for having to repeat. And that came from a place of having to allow the ego story that I created around failure. So if there's anything that I can tell you guys is having to repeat something is not equitable to failing something. Failing would mean that you didn't get where you wanted to be and you gave up on it. This is an extension to your learning, is essentially, if you end up having to repeat, it's just an extension to learning. And I think that there's a lot of weight around the idea that we all create individually around what failure means. And a lot of that story is written through society and the expectations that society imposes on us. So the best thing that I would say that you can do is to stay present. Stay present in what you're learning. Stay present in how you're feeling so that you can navigate through those feelings and start to be aware of those stories so that you can start to cut ties with them, to allow yourself to really grow and take flight, if this is truly the path that you want to take. So while I understand all of those emotions and feelings that come up and fears that come up, a wise person once told me that the fear is what's getting in my way. And so if there's anything you take away from that, it's to just be present and don't think about next week and don't think about what's coming up and all those things, but just stay present and just each moment just work towards getting things more clear for yourself.
One day, one step, one method at a time. That's it, right? All right. Yeah, Arike, go ahead.
Yeah, I think as someone who didn't know that they were repeating up until that like very last moment, as like the instructors would probably never like share because it's student by student, right? I think the best advice I got was like, trust your instructors. Like, they only want what's best for you. They only want what you need to like be able to become a freaking awesome coder. And like, once someone told me that, like, just trust your instructors, like I just kind of let everything else go. So give it your best shot up until the very end, and then like trust the result has more to do with like the instructors having your back than not.
Appreciate that. Yeah, Priya, go ahead.
And I posted it in the chat, but I imagine there's a lot of us who have like super high ambitions and perfectionist traits in us. I think that Turing definitely pulls those kinds of people. Not saying that everybody is this way, but my husband tells me every day, he just reminds me that, hey, doing anything worth doing is worth doing poorly. So that helps me because I personally struggle with quote unquote failure. And as Danny says, I don't like to use that word as well. I think it's an ugly, aggressive term nowadays, but I understand where it came from.
Yeah, and I think it's a good thing to challenge that perfectionism idea, because like you're probably never going to be a perfect developer, and that's kind of the point. Like, it can always get better as you like look at things longer and over time with more experience. So it's like if you want to take Adike's advice, which is great advice, trust us. It's like we need you to be at a certain marker, and if you hit that marker, we're happy to say, hey, you're ready to learn more. Otherwise, you say, hey, you really need these foundations to be solidified. That's all it is. And yeah, perfect is probably not the right thing to shoot for. Yeah, Priya said it better than I can. So all right, anyone else with questions? Okay, it's totally okay if not. I think we hit most of the stuff.
Hey, Tim, not really a question, but can I have like 5 minutes of your time after class?
Yep.
Cool, thanks.
Yeah.
And I don't know if I missed this, but are we gonna get the paired assessment pre-work a couple days before, like we did for the mid-mod?
Yeah, it's on the calendar. Let's see where it is. Final assessment kickoff tomorrow at 2:30. I will kick it off with some pre-work. Yep. Cool. All right, I think that's a wrap then. Y'all have work time until PD this afternoon, which is with me. So, woohoo! Yeah, I'll see y'all at 3, unless you're Drew, and then I'll see you soon. All right, bye.